Hey everybody, it's Joe the Maniac. I'm here today with another Maniac2React. Today's movie we're going to talk about is Captain America: Civil War. Now, I think the first thing to say right out of the blue is I'm not going to give any spoilers. But also the second thing I want to say is pretty much at this point, if you haven't been watching the more recent cinematic universe of Marvel movies, obviously this might not make a lot of sense to you, but I think it still stands pretty well on its own. You don't need a lot of context of what went wrong, but it kind of helps with it. They kind of refresh on some of it in the movie, and they don't have to gloss over it. They don't have to take a lot of time to make it happen. So basically, the movie has to do with an issue which I'm sure a lot of people were asking, and when they watch a lot of superhero movies, is what about the collateral damage that happens when superheroes and supervillains fight? And, what happens to the city? What happens to all the residents? Now, we have seen in some of the previous movies that, yes, residents would normally be evacuated, and there would be a lot of damage. A lot of buildings and cars and other structures exploded and whatnot. So, this actually addresses it, and it does it in an actually very nice way. Basically, they have one predicament that just kind of goes over the line, and a lot of nations around the world just say, you know what? We need to put a restriction on these guys because they're just going around country to country on their own, like an independent group, not monitored by anybody, really, and just wrecking stuff, even if they're trying to fight some overall bad guy. They're wrecking all kinds of stuff and not even paying, reparations or anything, So they try to make a treaty, or an accord is what they call it, to put them into better control. And Tony Stark, at the time of when all these things happen, is giving his own presentation and, trying to be a bit of a philanthropist. Thank you. So he kind of gets word a little bit after it, but he still knows the impact that it has on people. Like, he meets this one person by an elevator that says, "You killed my son." And, she goes into detail about who she is, and, not too long, but still enough to, really put an impact on Tony, which I'm actually glad that, first of all, he's not always that arrogant, that this actually impacts him in some way. But I think, after that, it kind of carries out, and it's like, you have a tough time voting for which side, because it's like, well, if they're put under control, they would still be useful. They would just be asked to be used. But it's like, if the Avengers are under control, you're probably going to have a little bit less time dealing with them. Like the bad guys are going to have a lot more damage, because they're not suppressed enough, or, by military forces or whatever. But on the other side, even the superheroes have a lot of dangerous weapons on their side. I mean, they even explain that Tony has, all kinds of missiles in every Iron Man suit, which is, in the wrong hands, obviously deadly, and has been in the wrong hands if you've seen, the previous movie being Age of Ultron. So, there you go. And Captain America, it's basically Team Stark or Team Captain America, Team Rogers, but I don't think anybody would call him that. But it basically, sides are drawn, or lines are drawn, sides start forming, just breaking up between the superheroes themselves. Not just the Avengers, but also they include people like Spider-Man, as you've seen in the trailers. He's in there. I think Falcon is considered an Avenger at this point. I'm not really sure. Who else? Well, Hawkeye. I'm thinking someone else. And you even have Ant-Man that's, in on it. So it's really nice seeing those characters, but they actually do have a part. They work out very well for fighting, and they're not just thrown in as, what's that word? Fan service? Kind of. Sort of. Probably used the wrong word. But yeah, they actually make it relevant for using these characters in there. Maybe not exactly explain why, where they came from, but they actually do a little bit more with Spider-Man to be, prepping up for it. And it actually works out pretty well. I do like the way that Spider-Man was cast. He reminds me a lot of the Tobey Maguire version, just being this awkward teenager that's not really sure what's going on, but kind of has his own, values, and that makes sense. It works well with him. What else was I gonna say? The villains were actually, the overall villains, because there are more than just the superheroes fighting each other. There's more going on behind the scenes, and it's obvious, but hashtag Hail Hydra. But those villains are actually written pretty well into the plot and actually make it come back around on a lot of details. Details that have to do with both sides of the conflict between the superheroes. So, again, I'm not trying to give a lot of spoilers, but I just want to say they wrote it very well for all of these characters connecting with each other. And yeah, I'm not really familiar in comic books wise. I'm sure they're doing things on their own, but it still seems proper compared to the other movies, Like, it seems like it's going in order. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of each of them. I think they said, I will give this spoiler, there is going to be a Spider-Man movie, but I don't know exactly when. It just said it at the end. They did also have Black Panther. Now, he was something I wasn't familiar with. I didn't know what side he was on, because it was kind of like, he's on the good side, but he also has his own agenda, basically having to do with trying to get these, accords through, just like with Tony, and he does align with him for quite a bit. But he also has his own vendetta on one of the villains that, it doesn't exactly it kind of gets resolved. But it's also like, he understands with him too. Again, these characters are pretty well written. I have to admit, I haven't seen every movie beforehand. So the Winter Soldier, I had to get a little bit familiar with him, but I caught up pretty easily. So it's like, if you haven't seen a lot of the Marvel movies at this point, this will make most sense to you. And I'm still probably going to go watch back, some of the older ones, just to at least be familiar with some of the characters, the Winter Soldier, Ant-Man, but just to recap on, what they've done on their own. But how they all work together in this one movie actually, seems pretty cool. A lot of good fight scenes in this movie. I like every step of the way. It pretty much delivers that fast-paced, everybody's moving kind of fight scenes that they've had from the previous Avengers movies, and just does it in another unique way. I really like how that happened. So I'd say watch it if you're interested in superheroes. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm gonna clean my hand because it's full of popcorn butter. And butter's too good at the movies. We'll see you next time with more videos. I am now on summer, so I will try to record more videos about movies and probably some other stuff. So I'll be back, theater. You keep watch. I'm sitting outside the theater, so I'm pointing at it. It's not really working from the. See you later.